Many thought the end to commuting en masse will be good for the environment. This was, the heights of COVID, people working from home, but perhaps not. Working from home part-time, at least, turns out it seems to be bad for the environment. This is according to some new research. Hybrid workers, people who end up doing a bit from home, a bit in the office, if that's where they're going, end up travelling further each week than office-based workers, despite taking fewer trips. This is the conclusion of the University of Sussex's Business School. Those going into the office once or twice a week travelled an average of 100 miles each week, compared to 63.5 miles for those almost always going in. Who'd have thunk it? Well, joining me now, Amanda Lennon, an employment lawyer and HR director at Spencer West. Are you surprised, Amanda?
I am surprised, actually, because I think pre-pandemic, we were much more used to working in an office on a full-time basis. And the pandemic has generated working from home. Now that we are in this post-COVID world, the struggle is now for employers to get employees back into the office. So I am surprised by the results of that research.
From an HR perspective, obviously not necessarily talking about people you deal with, but you'll talk to other people in HR. Is it the experience of people in HR that they are finding employees now who feel, because of COVID, actually not so much because of COVID, because of the changing nature of the labour market, there does seem to be a labour crunch, more so in certain sectors than others. And actually the employee, when it comes to negotiating with an employer, increasingly holds, if not the whip hand, then a bit more power than they once had. And if they say, look, you want to keep hold of my talents, it's going to be 2 days in the office, 3 days in the Lake District.
Absolutely. And I am working with employers who are seeing this more and more, where employees now have the opportunity to work home from more. They're making lifestyle choices. And in some cases, that means moving further away from where they were based pre-pandemic. And that means that if they do have to come into an office, that's a much bigger journey for them. So it is an issue for employers in that sense. The other issue that you have is with workers who don't want to now come back to the office, because the benefit for employees of what's happened during the lockdown is that there is, I think, an element of flexibility which is now inbuilt. Previously, you had to apply for flexible working, which included working from home. In some cases, it was a very formal process following a policy. And now I think it's inherent in many office workers, at least, jobs.
I just wonder, Amanda, so many, I'm not going to call them woke, but so many big companies now have corporate policies around things like environmentalism, and they want to be good, fluffy employers and treat their staff well as well. Now, here seem two irreconcilable objectives. Be nice to your staff; they want to work from home. It turns out working from home is bad for the environment. How do you square that?
I think it's a very fine balance. In recent years, we've seen very much a rise in employers focusing on sustainability and environmental impacts of their business, carbon footprint, etc. And yet, on the other hand, as you said before, there's a real war on talent at the moment, in particular sectors such as technology especially, which means that the employees do have a stronger hand in the negotiations than they might have done pre-pandemic. So I think the balance is one of reasonableness. It depends on the particular role. Employers want people to come into the office because they do value the relationship building and getting things done that having meetings face to face brings. But at the same time, I think most employees have been able to prove during the pandemic from working from home that they can do just as good a job working from home as they can in an office. So what I'm seeing employers doing to try and counteract this is have a hybrid working policy. It doesn't suit everybody, but I think that's the balance that they're treading at the moment.
Amanda Lennon, thanks very much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it. Peter Whittle is alongside me.
Yeah, this is a bit of a bugbear of mine, actually, Colin, because I think there's a huge kind of, well, dare I say, class divide here, because the people who can make these choices, the point was made right at the beginning of the pandemic, if you remember, largely middle class, a lot of them professional, but in office jobs, can stay at home. What about the army of people who simply cannot stay at home? That's what I worry about, because when we're in London at the moment. You can walk through London. I'm sure it's the same in other cities. Whole ecosystems have basically disappeared. The little cafe, the dry cleaners, the this, that, the other. They've all gone because people aren't coming in to use them. And I do wonder, it's interesting what the lady was saying there, because I do also wonder about the mental health ramifications of isolation, which right now might seem very nice. But in the fullness of time, you know, I don't think it's a good thing for society.
I'm struck by the numbers, Peter. I mean, that's a massive weekly commute that some people are doing. I mean, are you hearing stories of people?
Oh yes. Well, I mean, I've actually moved out to London. I'm not that far, but I know a lot of people who've moved out of London. Some are sort of regretting. I'm talking about my experience in London. I don't mean to be London-centric about this, but I think that basically what people thought they might be getting, they're not getting necessarily, and so they're sort of moving back. But what is it? 800,000 people moved out of the capital in this time. That is that's a tenth. That's a tenth of the population.
Amazing.
And I think that's huge. I mean, the ramifications are huge, I think.
Yeah, where have they all gone? Peter, thanks very much indeed.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.